The light closed again after dropping all 5 of them across the rolling dunes of the same sand-covered beach Ryan had transported Rain when they'd first met. Already well into the afternoon, the sun was setting on the water in the distance, casting brilliant golden hues across the sky as clear and empty as the beach itself. Slowly sitting up, Ryan drew a breath and looked towards Soren, who was lying there with his arms spread in exhaustion. "You're so predictable, you know that?" Catching his gaze, he pulled himself up. "Come on, you were thinking it too." Sam was busy emptying the sand from his hat while Rain stared at the sky. "So we made it." "Yeah," Ryan smiled. "They're not going to be able to follow us here." "Good," Sam muttered, putting his hat back on his head. "I don't know about the rest of you, but I've had enough excitement for one lifetime." Ryan seemed to agree and looked back at his cousin, at which point his expression became one of curious accusation. "So, exactly how did that happen?" Dropping his gaze, Soren ran a hand along his neck. "Well, it's kind of a long story. We've got time." "Actually," Sam threw a nod toward the setting sun. "Oh, crap. What? What's wrong?" "We can talk later." Rain got up. "We have to get somewhere with light." Soren looked at Sam, who rolled his eyes. "We all have long stories, but this isn't the place to share." "Actually, this is the best place we've got. Would you mind if I took a look at that stone of yours?" Quickly drawing back, his eyes narrowed. "I don't think so, buddy." Ryan gave Soren a look, and something seemed to click. "Sam, give him the stone. He can help you." "I'm not going to break it, Sam. I'll give it right back." The boy threw a glance in the direction of the darkening sky, pulled the tablet, and reluctantly held it out. "Relax. You look like you're about to lose your best friend." Ryan chuckled as Soren began to trace several lines across its surface. Studying him curiously, the light it emitted collected in his palm, forming itself into a small silver gemstone which he held out a moment later. "What is that?" "Light, or more specifically, pure light. As long as you keep this gem in your possession, you won't be in its, if you catch my meaning." Sam took the gem from him warily. "So you're saying as long as I hold on to this thing, I'm not going to have to play fill-in-the-blanks with my memory every time the sun goes down?" "Basically. What he means to say is that the next time you scarf 3 pizzas that someone else paid for, the whole demon boy excuse isn't going to fly." Sam rolled his eyes and slipped the stone into his pocket. "Yeah, great, whatever. That's one problem solved, but what are we going to do about him?" He pointed at Soren, who was still only human from the waist up. "I'm assuming this is a public beach, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm fresh out of logical explanations for this shit." "Aren't we in California?" Rain asked. "There's tons of rich assholes around here with their own strip." Both Soren and Ryan laughed. "It's fine," Soren replied. "It's just the dawn cutter. Speaking of which," he turned toward his cousin, "how come it's not affecting you?" "You know," Ryan admitted, "I'm not sure. Maybe it has something to do with the interference those bonds were causing." "Whatever the hell that means," Sam scoffed. "It means this is so unfair." Chuckling at his reaction, Ryan reached out to ruffle his hair. "Life is tough, cuz. Payback for all those times you made fun of Christy and me." "Get out of here," he mused before growing serious again. "Wait a minute, Christy!" "She's safe. We got her out of there long before we were apprehended." With a sigh of relief, Soren laid back down in the sand. "So wait a second. How did you guys get out of that?" "You know, that's a really good question. How did you get that monkey to dance?" Sam asked in regards to Vance. "Well, actually," Ryan began, "I didn't." "Say what?" He pulled the tiny celestial-shaped amulet and went to hand it back to Rain. The inscription that had once marred its backside was now completely absent. "Taking into consideration the circumstances, I couldn't in good conscience allow that madman to get a hold of him too. So I did the only thing I could think of." "Wait, so that means—" Soren looked confused. "That's right," Ryan nodded. "I didn't force him to do anything. He rescued us on his own." Rain blinked rapidly. "You set him free? You really set him free?" "Yeah. Speaking of which, where is he?" It was a particularly good question, considering Vance was nowhere to be seen. "He's probably running down the beach like Pamela Anderson." Sam just scoffed. "Somehow I highly doubt that." Shaking his head, Soren disagreed as well. "I don't think so, Rain, but I think I might know where he did go." A few miles off the coast, Vancelin wandered his way through the dimly lit streets of a relatively small beach community. Hands stuffed in his pockets, his expression was stoic. He stopped upon nearing the edge of a long road that ran toward the metal gates of a marble drive leading up to an enormous estate. Constructed of red brick and gray metallic roofing, the mansion could hardly be called a house at all. Towering well over 4 floors, it spanned more than 200 feet in one direction, and that was simply the front. Slipping past the iron fencing, Vance didn't have any trouble with the security and started casually up the drive past a detailed golden lawn plaque that read LeChance Manor. "The manor?" Ryan's eyes widened. "Why?" "I don't know, but something in my head just tells me he'll be there." Soren neglected to mention the connection he feared the two of them now shared. I gotta find him before he does something stupid. You guys gonna be okay for a while? Sam gave a shrug. Sure, why not? Frowning slightly, Rand looked unsettled. The manor, as they had called it, sounded like a dark place, one she didn't want anyone to go alone. I'll go with you. If you want. We'll be back soon. Do us all a favor and don't get yourselves caught. Meanwhile, as Vance neared the house, he began to notice the evident movement coming from inside. Throwing a look in the direction of the drive, which was nearly as big as a house itself, he furrowed a brow at the sight of several cars with which he was unfamiliar. Shaking the thought free of his mind, instead of worrying about it, he walked to the door and reached for the bell. The noise it made was alarming and could be heard from outside as it echoed the halls. His gaze lowered at the memories that returned to him. However, when the door pulled back, he quickly looked up, coming face to face with a young Hispanic woman. "Maria?" he stammered as she brought both hands up to her mouth. "El Diablo, niño! No, you cannot be here! Please, you need leave. Yes, I think go!" Though her English was broken, the frantic gestures she made were clear enough. "Maria, come on! Cut me some slack here!" The maid only continued to shoo him away. No, you can be here. Mr. LeChance has new family. You must go. Yes, I think you go." "What?" Expression darkening, Vance took a step forward, though before he could say anything, waddling out of one of the other rooms, slightly visible down the long, carpeted hallway, a small child, no older than 2, peered curiously up at him through deep silver eyes. Dressed in a miniature tux, the little boy was obviously well cared for, not to mention well fed. Noticing Vance's shocked expression, the maid turned. No, Vinny, go back! You shouldn't be out here!" she called as she went to shoo him away, while a tall, dark-haired woman in her mid-30s walked briskly out of the room to reclaim him. "It's okay, Maria. He's not hurting anyone. Come on, Vincent, let's go back to—" Trailing off as she noticed the door, the woman looked up to see Vance and her expression turned horrid. "David!" she screamed at the top of her lungs, grabbing the child and scooping him into her arms. Fortunately, or rather unfortunately, depending on how it was perceived, Vance didn't stick around to wait. The moment she'd called for his father, he turned on his heels and fled. "Vance lives in a manor?" Wren was almost amused. He was as vulgar and pompous as could be, and it shouldn't have come as a surprise that he came from money. Why would he go home? "I have no idea," Ryan admitted as they stepped through the portal onto the same high-end street Vance had traversed only 20 minutes prior. "And as far as living in a manor, you might want to brace yourself." "I'm used to opulence," Rand admitted. She had been born in a castle across the sea, a cold stone palace with stained-glass windows that kept out the light. By now, Vance was long gone. Standing in the doorway was a dark-haired man. In his hand was the barrel of a hunting rifle that could have torn a hole through an elephant. Glaring through the darkness, he lumbered across the porch, pacing in a quite meticulous fashion. Rain paused upon seeing the gun. "Is that his father?" "Yeah, looks like he's come and gone." Ryan shied away from the fence to avoid notice, aware that David LeChance would take great pleasure in putting a bullet through his head if given the opportunity. "I thought his father liked him." "Are you kidding? Vance was a tool. His father used him to open the portal to Mencia. That was the only reason he spawned him in the first place. Not to mention he kinda killed all the guy's cult members. That does tend to put you on the shit list." "Should we kill him?" "No, leave him. Back when I still lived here, LeChance had more power than God. If I had to wager a guess, I'd say he still does. That's one sleeping dog it's better to let lie. Come on, think I know where Vance went." Glaring at the man, Rain's eyes flared red. She had no tolerance for people who used children. "Where is he?" "There's an old park down the street. If it's still there, and I don't see any reason why it shouldn't be, that's probably where we'll find him." No more than 2 blocks down the road, a small child's park lay abandoned for the night. Several swings rocked back and forth in a gentle fall breeze while a rubber tire spun in a circle above a bed of cedar mulch. Beyond it, a large oak tree towered over the top of the bright red slide, permitting anyone brave enough to climb it a magnificent view of the night sky, which was exactly what Vance had done. Leaning across one of the thicker branches, he sat about 20 feet off the ground. Running his nails along the bark of the tree, he traced the age-worn letters of his own name, an engraving he'd placed there many, many years before, under circumstances not unlike that very night. "There he is, right where I figured he'd be." Vance looked pale and distraught. Even in the dim light, his eyes seemed empty and far more distant than they had in a very long time. "He saved our lives, Ryan. Can't we cut him some slack? Look at him. This is just as bad as Liz." Ignoring her remark, Ryan stepped forward in an attempt to catch Vance's attention. "Hey, LeChance!" Slowly looking down, his eyes narrowed, although his expression remained as such. "What do you people want now?" "I want you to keep up your end of the deal and fix what you did to my cousin." With a deep breath, Vance shook his head. "That's all well and good, but there's nothing I can do about it." "Excuse me?" "I said I can't fix it. It can't be fixed. It was a stupid mistake, but also an irreversible one." What the hell does that mean?
It means you can get off my back. Leave me alone and go back to your little fan party on the beach. Soren will be fine. Besides, after what I just saw,
he shook his head,
I'll give you another 15 years, give or take a year or two, before this whole fucking mess repeats itself.
How is it irreversible? Rand frowned. You better start talking right now. Ryan had summoned the Night Striker and pointed it toward him threateningly. Lowering his gaze, Vance sighed.
It's irreversible because of what happens when one soul passes through another. Like any other non-solid substance, once merged, even for the shortest amount of time, it becomes impossible to weed out the original molecules of either host.
Ryan looked livid. You're telling me you butchered my cousin's soul?
I didn't butcher anything. I screwed up a calculation. Besides, Soren isn't going to be as affected. He's light, remember? What's the worst you're going to get from him? A cheeky remark from time to time? Ooh, scary.
Ryan, Soren is fine, Rain said as he drew his blade. Vance, what did you mean by this mess repeating itself?
You'll find out, someday.
His eyes slid toward her.
Or maybe you won't. Hard to tell. Don't really know. Don't really care.
Mulling over his words, she felt as though she already knew. You're a brother. He didn't say anything. Ryan, however, looked horrified. What? Whoa, hold on. Time out. You're telling me there's more of you? We gotta get rid of it.
Bullshit. You're not getting within 10 feet of that mansion. And what are you gonna do? Kill an infant? Please, let it go. If my prick of a father is anything like I remember, kid won't live to see 18 anyway.
Rain's face burnt with resentment. We can't kill a child, Ryan. Are you insane? I didn't say we should, but...
Just forget about it and go back to your friends,
Vance muttered. And leave you here?
What else could you possibly do to me?
Shaking his head, Ryan's eyes narrowed. If I ever hear your name again for any reason other than a tabloid in an obituary somewhere.
Yeah, I get it, hotshot. Now get out of my face.
Thanks for saving us. Ren regarded him with gray eyes and promptly turned to leave. Offering no response, he only continued to stare at the sky while Ryan summoned a portal back to the beach. I feel kind of bad for him. He's been replaced. He brought his own fate upon himself, Ryan. Now he's got to deal with it. She seemed to disagree, however, said nothing. Back on the beach, Sam had taken a nap with his hands behind his head while Soren aimlessly doodled pictures in the sand. Hey guys, Ryan said as she stepped through. How'd it go? Come on, Ryan crossed his arms. As if you don't know. You did the right thing by letting him go. Says you. Come on, he saved our butts back there. I think we can afford to let him get a little bit of a head start. Although, I guess that only leaves one other order of business. What's that? Ren brushed back her hair as she sat next to Soren, admiring his doodles. Where do we go from here? I should see how Leah's faring, and explain myself. Ren knew her friend was probably worried sick, and she didn't even want to think of what her mentor was going to say. Unless you guys want to go on another adventure. I'm all adventured out, Ryan admitted. Yeah, Soren replied. Besides, we should probably go see how Christy is. His cousin nodded and threw a look toward Rain. Anywhere you'd like us to drop you off? Thinking it over, she pursed her lips. Leah's parents had been in Jersey the last time they'd spoke. Clinton. She remembered the name faintly. Clinton it is. Will I see you again? Of course you will. We'll be back. Just gotta clean up a few things first. Besides, you still have a lot of explaining to do, Ryan said to Soren. Yeah, I was afraid of that. Rain smiled faintly as she got up with the seashell in hand, a tiny souvenir from a big adventure. Offering a wave, Ryan and Soren did much the same as the light engulfed her and vanished. Now wait a minute, he said once Rain had gone. Pointing toward Sam, who was still sound asleep, Soren bit his lip. What are we going to do with him?